Hi everybody, it's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and on this episode I'm going to talk about a bunch of things. Some Christmas projects. I'm going to talk about the dime door, which is the monthly door that we do all the time, and I'm going to talk too about how you hook up your Janome 15,000 or other Wi-Fi enabled sewing machine to a very useful app that will help you to monitor your embroidery. So we've got lots to talk about today, so let's get right into it just as soon as I clear my throat. Excuse me. Okay. Frog in my throat just before I begin. Great, wonderful. Okay, so I have finished all my Christmas projects for the year. I think. It always seems there's one more thing down the line that I want to make, but I have a ton of them, and you saw in my last video I showed you a lot of those things and where I placed them. So everything is up, the house is decorated, we're ready for Christmas. It's kind of sad that it'll only be Walter and I that will actually see these decorations. Well, it's one reason why I made the video, so we could share them with other people. But we're not going to have anybody over for Christmas for obvious reasons. And we don't usually have a lot of people over at Christmas time anyways, in the best of times. So this year's not going to be all that much different. Usually on Christmas Day, we would probably either be going over to my sister's for dinner, or my sister and her family might be coming over here, and we'd have probably Walter's sister and her family over here as well. But this year, no. But I am thinking about doing a Zoom call with my sister and with my and with the in-laws as well. In-laws, outlaws, whatever they are. In-laws, I guess. Too. We'll see. Might even set up one with my brother out in BC. Haven't seen him in a couple of years. We don't talk that often. But, you know, that might be something to do as well. So we'll see. Okay, so what other things have I been working on? And I'm sorry, I've got this frog in my throat for some reason. Okay, let's hope it goes away. Good all day, and then I get it now when I make the video, of course. So I have completed the last in the dime door series. Dime is designs in machine embroidery, and they come out every month, as you may or may not know, with a free embroidery door. And they've been doing this since January of this year, and this is the December door. I now have all 12 made, and now maybe later today I'm going to try to lay them out, because I'm going to make them into a wall hanging. I think I'll have to put a sashing between them. I might do an attic window type of effect. I don't know. Yeah, that's why I've got to lay them out either today or tomorrow and see what I can do with those. It will become a wall hanging when it's done. Now, these were intended to be backed and little hangers put on them, and there's a special frame you could get from Dime as well, where you could hang them and switch them out every month. But I have chosen to turn these into a wall hanging instead of doing something like that. Okay, the other thing that I finished was my Christmas train. I think that turned out pretty nice, and I did show a little video clip of that earlier today when I'm making this video. I had just finished my vlog, and it will be on my weekly vlog, but I think I'll insert it here as well, because not everybody that comes to this channel necessarily watches my vlog as well. So I will insert that in. The train is really cute. Walter had actually bought the design for it. It's 6 cars, including the engine with it. It took a little time to make, although it didn't take as long as some of the other embroidery projects that I have done, mainly because you didn't have to change thread color. You could use the same thread color throughout. It's a freestanding applique, which means there's fabric involved. Some assembly required as well, but it went together pretty easy, and it looks really nice on my coffee table upstairs. I kind of put it in a circle, the cars going around in a circle with a Christmas tree in the middle. So I'm really happy with it, and as I said, I'll insert a video right here, right now, so you can see it as well. So here's what I did with the little train when I got it done. I set it upstairs on my coffee table, back a bit, and I have this Christmas tree in the middle, and it just goes all the way around the little Christmas tree. I put some little gifts and things into the cars. Get down here so you can see the detail on each car. It's really cute. Took a little time to put together, but really it wasn't difficult. But the end result, I think, is really quite cute. Now these cars can attach together, but I didn't attach them together. I just left it like this so I could put it around the Christmas tree. And I think it looks really quite nice as a Christmas decoration. So like I said, I really do enjoy doing the embroidery freestanding applique projects on my embroidery machine. And I'm sure I'll be doing a lot more of them as the year progresses, or the new year progresses. Okay, and the other thing I've been doing is, when you sit down in front of your embroidery machine to do something like that, each piece takes a long time to do. So you're essentially doing nothing. You're sitting there staring at it as it's working this all out. So I decided to organize my scraps from my Christmas fabrics, all the pieces I had left over from the different projects that I did. And I thought, well, I should do something with them. Now, I have these thangles, they're called. And you've probably seen this kind of thing before. Get the glare off it. But what thangles are essentially pieces of paper that you sew on to create half square triangles in various sizes. Now this particular pack is 2.5 inch finished. So they're really easy to use. You just lay them down on a strip of fabric. It doesn't even have to be cut exactly, as long as it's wider than this piece of paper or the same width, you're okay, and the same length. Or it can be a little longer, you just cut off the excess. Lay 2 pieces down, wrong sides together, put this on top of it, pin it down to it, and then you sew along the dotted lines. And then when you're finished doing that, you cut it apart. So you cut on the solid lines, and you have half square triangles, and it does a very accurate job. It makes them very neat. And so I made a bunch of these out of my scraps. Now I've got a bag of them right here, and my idea is that I'll make some more. I've got this big box of scraps that I've sort of organized by colors. And not all of those I'll be able to make half square triangles out of, at least in this size. But I figure I'll just take them every time I've got a little something, you know, where I'm just basically sitting and watching embroidering. I can do a few more of these and build up a set of them, and come next year when I'm making Christmas stuff, or before, I've already got a whole bunch of half square triangles that I can do whatever I want with. So again, those things are called thangles. They're really good. They come in many sizes. And if you're somebody who's not confident making half square triangles the more traditional way, in terms of getting them square, then these are a real godsend. Now, this is how I learned how to make half square triangles when I first got into quilting. And I have several packages in different sizes of these. I never use them. So the other thing is, I thought, I'd use them up on this because it's fast and it's easy, and might as well, right? Okay. So that's what I've been doing. So what's next on the agenda? Well, I still have all these UFOs right there behind me hanging up, and I keep saying this, and I keep doing other things. I've got to get them layered, and I've got to get them quilted, and so that's a project for the start of very soon, the new year or whatever, because I got to get them done. And I can't use the excuse that I'm focusing my attention on Christmas things now. So those are next on the agenda. But along with those, I do have other projects. In fact, what I want to do is sit down and plan out next year, roughly. lay out some things that I really want to try to accomplish over the next 12 months. UFOs, get those done out of the way. And there's some quilting patterns that I've collected that I really like, that I'd like to do as well. I have a few quilt projects that I have started as well, but haven't gotten that far on. One of those being my grandmother's quilt, as I call it. And I haven't done any more on that. In the last episode, I showed you 2 rows that I've done. I have not done any more on that. So I got to get on with that as well. So yeah, there's no lack of projects, but you know what happens is, if you keep them all in your head, you get overwhelmed. So I need to write them down and put them in sort of a priority listing as to what I'm going to do. Now, of course, the best laid plans of mice and men, right? Because you know what happens as soon as you plan all that stuff, something throws a monkey wrench or alters your plans altogether, and that's fine. It's a hobby. So whatever. I know there'll be something come along, a pattern I'll be all excited about. I just signed up today for a block of the month mystery quilt that my guild is sponsoring. So I'll have that as well. Now, I have never done a block of the month kind of project before. So that's one reason why I've signed up for it, to see what it's all about. And in my way of thinking too, well, doing a block isn't a big task. You can knock off a block, in a couple of hours or maybe less. I don't know. And at the end of the process, at the end of the year, I'll have a quilt made with all of that. So that's a project too. So lots of things to do. Okay. Yeah. And as I said, I've got to get on with my grandmother's quilt. That's why I've decided to name it. Actually, I'm going to call it Grandmother's Quilt 2020 or 2021. Maybe 2021 would be better, because really it'll be 2021 when I'll do the bulk of it. And we'll go from there. Okay, so I had a request to show how I hook my embroidery machine up to my wireless network in my house. And I have an app that I also use where I can monitor from my phone or from my iPad what's happening as I'm embroidering something. So the idea behind this app, which is provided by Janome, and it's free, is that I can be somewhere else in the house and I can keep my eyes on what's happening with my embroidery machine. So if it's time for a color change, the app will let me know it's time for a color change. It'll show me right on my screen exactly where my needle is going, like what it has done and where it's going to, what it's actually stitching out, which is kind of mesmerizing when you first get the app, because you kind of stare at that and watch that. It's like it's drawing your whole pattern out on your iPhone or your iPad. And if you have a thread break or something else happens during the embroidery process, it will let you know about that, so you can go back in and correct that problem. And it also lets you know when your whole design is done. So you don't need to be tethered to your embroidery machine while you're doing your project. You could be, upstairs doing some cleaning, working on another project, answering your email, whatever, with it. So there is a little bit of confusion, I guess you would say, as to how you get this all to work. So I'm going to try to help you out with it. Now, before I get into this, I want to say a few things about Janome's Wi-Fi connection. It's not reliable. Okay. Now, there are several factors for this. It might be partially the way Janome has designed it. I don't know. The other thing is possibly where your Wi-Fi, your modem, is actually physically set up in your house, because in some houses you can have dead zones. There are a lot of factors that do not make this foolproof. I'm trying to show you the simplest and most direct way of doing this, but don't fault me if when you do it, it doesn't work for you. I've never had much luck connecting, for example, my Janome 15000 wirelessly to Horizon Link, which is a program that comes with the sewing machine, from my computer. With that program, you should be able to take embroidery files and upload them to your sewing machine from your computer without having to put them on a USB first and then take the USB to your Janome. I've never had a lot of luck with that. But having said that, Artistic Digitaltizer will allow you to do that, and it does seem to work. So this is what makes me think it's not necessarily my system, but it may be within the programming that Janome does. And that wouldn't surprise me because, to be quite honest, the way Janome programs sewing machines is not in the same manner as a computer is programmed for things. So it can be a bit frustrating at first. So I'm hoping that this little episode here will take some of the mystery out of it, or at least help you if you're having some problems making that connection. So let's talk first of all about what you can, how you hook your sewing machine up to your Wi-Fi, and I have a little video about that. And then I'm going to show you how you get the app that goes on your iPhone or your iPad, and how you basically set it up. So that's in this next little video clip. So in order to connect your 15,000 or one of the Janome sewing machines that will connect to your Wi-Fi in your home, I'm going to show you how I do it. Now, this is kind of, it's not a hit and miss, but it doesn't always work for some reason. A lot of it has to do with the Wi-Fi setup you have in your home, and sometimes just connecting these machines is just temperamental. So you're in this case, this usually is working with embroidery is what you want to use it with. So I'm in my embroidery mode, and I'm going to go down here and I'll just move up here. I'm going to click on set. And in set, you'll see at the top of the screen you have all these icons. You have one that has these little bars. That's your one for Wi-Fi. So you connect to that, click on that, and then under Wi-Fi, make sure you have on set. It'll be black. It'll be turned to black. And then it'll come up and it should find your system, your network name, and set it all up for you automatically. But if it doesn't, go to this little gear symbol here. Click on that, and you've got some choices. You can do WPS, search, or manual. Now, WPS and WPS pin are ones that may or may not work with your particular router system. What I would do is do the search. And what it's doing is it's going through your system and looking for your networks. And there's mine right at the top. So that one, you would click on it, and then it's going to ask you for your encryption key entry. So you probably have a password on your modem, so you'll need to know that, and you type it in using the keyboard. And it is case sensitive, so make sure if you have some upper or some lowercase keys that you switch over. This defaults to uppercase, but you can drop it down to a lowercase. Up here you see the little A's. If you hit that once, it'll drop to lowercase. So I don't need that, so I'm just going to cancel out of that by hitting the X, and I'm going to hit the X again. And mine's already set up, and that's really all you have to do. So mine's all ready to go. I backed out of it, and now this I will be able to connect with my iPhone or my iPad, or even in theory, your computer. But what I'm talking about today is how you monitor this using the Janome apps, the AccuMonitor system. So we'll come back to that in a moment. Now, in order for you to monitor your embroidery program, once you've hooked your computer up to the Wi-Fi, not your computer, your sewing machine to the Wi-Fi, you need to download the Janome app for this. And the app is actually called Janome AccuMonitor. However, that is not where you'll find it in the App Store. You'll have to do a search for Janome Sewing Machine Company. And under that, you will find the AccuMonitor. And then from there, you just, as with any app, download it to either your iPhone or your iPad, and then we'll talk about how you use it. So now that you have the app installed onto your device, you need to open it. Open it as you normally would any app. And then you're going to see a moment where the app tries to find your sewing machine, connect to it, and then it'll come up on the screen something that looks like what I have up here. Now I've just got the tail end of an embroidery design. When you first open it up, you're going to see basically a blank screen with some things written at the top telling you about the color that you are using, and at the bottom you're going to see a little color line that shows you where each change of color happens. Now the beauty of this little AccuMonitor program is that you can go someplace else in your house and monitor what your machine is doing. When it needs to have a color change, it will notify you of such, and then you can go to wherever your sewing machine and change the color. Or if you have a thread break, it'll monitor you of that as well. It'll also come up and tell you when the pattern is complete. So it's very convenient for this kind of thing. It also gives you a countdown as to how much time it's going to take to stitch that particular color. That's, I find, very useful as well. Now, in order to get this to work, however, you may have to do an initial setup to identify your sewing machine. And at the top of the screen, you will see a button for that. You just press on that. It'll locate your machine. You just click on that machine, and away you should go. Now, as I said, it may take a little bit of fiddling around to get used to how to use this, but once you do, it's very, very good. So I hope that helps you out with it as well. I am not an expert about that system. I use it all the time. It works for me. So I guess what I'm saying is you're kind of on your own. I've shown you what I know. Beyond that, well, if you have questions, you can email me or put them in the comments below, and I'll try and solve the problem for you, but I'm not going to make any guarantees about that. Okay, so shout outs. I wanted to do a shout out to a YouTube channel called Quilting Life. This is a mother-daughter team, and for the life of me, I can't remember their names right now. They design fabric, they design quilt patterns, and they usually have they call it a podcast. It's basically a vlog. But podcast now is becoming the term that people seem to be using, not just for audio presentations, but also for YouTube video presentations. So whatever you want to call it, every other week or so they get together and they talk about what they've been working on and other interesting things about techniques and fabrics and all the good stuff that goes in with quilting. And you can tune into them on YouTube. They also have on the same site, they will put up things about new fabric lines that they have designed, or they have right now, they've been running a series on Christmas gifts and things like that you might give to a quilter, or projects you could make for Christmas. Hiccups now. Before it was a frog in my throat, now it's hiccups. I can't win. So anyways, I find them very informative, and I've got a link in my show notes below for them. And it's called A Quilting Life. Okay, so next, I did buy a Martelli cutting mat. I have a little video here that I'll put up in just a second to show you what it looks like. I have heard of Martelli products. I think you go to martellinotions.com is their website. They had a big sale on for Black Friday, and this cutting mat that I bought is very large. It's 30 inches by 60 inches in size. It fills my entire work area, which is what I wanted. And it has two sides, one's in yellow, one's in purple. All the lines are there, very clearly marked. The reason I picked the yellow side is because for my eyesight, I find that I pick it up a little bit easier than the purple side. It's a heavy mat. It's very thick. And I've wanted one for quite a while. I was using ones that came from an art store in our area called Curry's, and they're great for crafting, but when it comes to doing using them as a cutting mat for fabric, they have a tendency to warp very easily. So this is what I'm hoping this one won't do because it's so thick. Also, the price was better. Now, this is over $200 for this particular mat, US. It was on sale for $126 US. Then I had to pay shipping because Martelli Notions is located in Florida, and it had to come way up here to Canada, to Ontario, to where I live. And so that was another $84 US. So by the time you figure in exchange, this mat cost me $301. And I want to tell you something. I don't regret spending that money on it. It's worth it. It's a great mat. I love it. So I'm going to insert a little video here so you can see it up close and personal. So this is my new Martelli cutting mat. It's big, as you can see. It's 60 inches this way and 30 inches this way. It comes in two colors. You can cut on both sides. I've put up the yellow side because I thought it looks a little clearer to me, but the other side, flip it over here, is this purpley pink, which is also pretty clear. It's got your angle markings on it on both the right and the left hand side, as you can see there as well. And it has a square type ruler, 14 inches in the center. This is a very, very heavy mat, much heavier than what I was using before, and that's one of the reasons I bought it. I also bought it because I thought there would be less chance of it warping, but I have my iron over here, and I have created a board. It's just down here with my wool mat on it. That's not stuck to it. That will come off, and that fits right over here. So when I don't need the full length of the mat, I can iron over here and not worry about the steam going through and warping my mat like it did with my other ones. That doesn't mean this one wouldn't warp if it did have steam on it. But because it's a little heavier, I don't think it would warp as readily, but I'm not taking any chances because this is an expensive mat. This mat cost me, by the time you got it shipped from Florida to Canada, the exchange rate and the whole bit, and it was on sale. I took advantage of a Black Friday sale, or actually it wasn't, they were having a Black Friday sale earlier. So I got it for about $126 American, $83 shipping American. Do the exchange, it cost me $301. You're going to gasp at that price for a cutting mat, but it's a very, very good one, and it's worth the money for this size as far as I'm concerned. So I'm very pleased with it so far, and if you want to get one for yourself or look at it, you can go to martellinotions.com, and I've put the link for this actual mat, and they have smaller ones as well, in my show notes. And Martelli does sell a lot of other quality products. They have ergonomically correct, I don't know if that's the right term for it, ergonomic rotary cutters, and I have their 45 and their 60 millimeter ones of those, and honestly I don't use them that much, but they are very, very good, and if you have problems with your hands, that they will help with that. But they have lots of things too, and they have a lot of very unique products as well that quilters seem to love, and I wish, you know, they were located up here, because the only thing that stops me from ordering more things from them is basically the exchange rate and the shipping. That's what holds me back from it, but they do have quality products. Okay, and by the way, I am not sponsored by them. They want to sponsor me, that would be nice, but no, I'm not sponsored by anybody. My YouTube videos are brought to you by me. Okay, you know that, probably you know, because I think I mentioned it in the last video, I bought a new toy for myself, a little Christmas present for myself. I bought a 3D printer. And I did mention, I think on the last YouTube or two episodes ago, all the quilting things and sewing things you can make. Now, I haven't made a lot yet, but I did make a couple of things that are very useful. I made this. What is this, you say? It's a chunk of plastic with grooves in it. Yes. Well, it's much more than that. It is a very short ruler rack. And I could make this longer. Now, you're limited by the size of what the 3D printer can print. It won't print anything much larger than this in length, but you can print 2 of these, and there's a little connector that you can print, and it'll connect it so you have a longer one as well. I just wanted one that was a little shorter for my small square rulers, because I've got 2 long wooden racks as well. But that was really cool. Another thing I made was this. What is this, you say? A cylinder with a peg. Yeah, a peg with a hole. And it is for this. It's a large cone stand. And I made this because on my other sewing machine, my Skyline 7, I want to use this thread for one of my projects, for my grandmother's quilt actually. And while my other machine is doing embroidery, I want to use the Skyline 7. But I don't have, okay, I'll be back. I just got interrupted. Sorry about that interruption. Walter's off to Best Buy to pick up something that, or Best Buy, not Best Buy, something that he's ordered. He's got a new Mac Mini, and now he's buying lots of things to go along with it. So that's his new toy for Christmas. So back to what I was saying. My other sewing machine did not have, I don't have a, what do you call it, a spool stand for it. So I couldn't really use these large cones of thread. So I went looking on the 3D printer universe for something, and I found this. Now, I wasn't sure if this would work or not, but it does. There is a hole in the top of the sewing machine for you to put in a pin, and I had an extra pin. This fits on the pin, this fits on this, and now, bingo presto, I should be able to use this without any problem. I haven't actually tried it yet. I just made it yesterday, but I'm going to try it later to see how it works out. But there's 2 things that are very practical that you can make with a 3D printer. And you know, right now, during the pandemic, when, you know, getting out and going places to pick up stuff like this or looking for them, not so easy. Or safe. So when you can make it yourself at home, what the heck, eh? Also, it's a lot cheaper. The amount of plastic that goes into this, you think it's a lot, it isn't that much. And really, this costs me pennies to make. And the same with the ruler rack. The only thing it costs you is time on these things. This ruler rack takes about, I think it's about 10 hours to print. Yeah. So anyways, I'm going to make another one of those as well, and the clip to see, more or less as an experiment, to see how they fit together. But I can use another one because I've got some more rulers that I would like to put in that. Right now, a bunch of my rulers that I don't have room in the racks for sit in a big basket. Not as well organized. Okay, so that's a couple of things that the 3D printer is good for, and it also has templates in there for quilting. I haven't made any of those yet on the printer, but that's a project for down the road as well. I'll keep you informed. Okay, another thing I bought is magic pins. Magic pins. Now, I've seen these on various YouTube channels, and people seem to love them. They're basically a sewing pin with a silicone head, which is heat resistant, so you can iron over top of these. They're also fairly lengthy and thin enough, so I thought I'd give them a try. I saw them in my quilt store when I was last there, on appointment only, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to pick up a set of these. They worked really well in conjunction with these, because you're pinning through a piece of paper and 2 layers of fabric, and you have to, you know, pin them far enough away so you can sew up the dotted lines, but they work really well in that. So I'm really quite impressed by these. They were, I think, $15.99, and I think you get 50. Yeah, probably 50 pins. And it comes in this nice little case as well. I think I might, the next time I'm over at that quilt store, if they've still got some, I might buy some more. Now they had them, these are the regular ones, and they had ones for applique, and I'm really not sure what the difference was, except I think the applique ones might have been a little thicker or thinner. I'm not sure which. So I may look into those, but I really like these. What else? Oh, okay. So I was watching, I think it was So Very Easy on YouTube, and I have given a shout out to that YouTube channel before as well. And she was showing various rulers, and one of the rulers she showed was this one. This huge mother of a ruler. This is 20 and a half by 20 and a half. Okay? Expensive. These are very expensive. I know because Walter already owns one. And I thought, well, the number of times I would need one this big, probably not. Not for, like, they're well over $160, $180, almost $200 for one of these. But what she was saying, Laura, on So Very Easy, was that for inset triangles, it gives you the measurements right on the ruler. And I did not know this, but right here, I know you can't really see it, but there's little blocks here that tell you what the size of an inset ruler or triangle should be depending on what you need. Now, it does come with instructions. It explains that a little better than I'm explaining it right now. But that's what sold me on it. Then Walter said, over at Fabricland, which is a local fabric store in our area, we like to call it the F store for various reasons, because their fabric isn't all that wonderful that's in there, and their prices are less wonderful. They're about double on most things compared to your local quilt stores. But some things you can get there you can't get at your quilt store, especially if you're a garment maker. So I'm basing my opinion on being a quilter as opposed to a garment maker, but even Walter says they're expensive, and he makes garments. So he said that the last time he was over at Fabricland, he saw that these rulers were on sale, and they were on sale for about $50. Wow. That was a darn good price. So we went over to Fabricland and I got one. Actually, Walter bought it for me. I had bought a few things for him online. It didn't matter. But anyways, I got it. So essentially it cost me nothing in that way. So I've got one. How many times I will use it? Probably not that frequently, but I've got it, and I just bought it because of that inset triangle piece. That's going to be very, very helpful because I'm very geometrically challenged, and trying to figure those things out, I usually screw up. This will help me not screw up. Okay. So, yeah, that's about all I have today to show you. However, I do want to mention something that I have been running for a while, and it's taken on a new transformation. I call it Craft and Chat. There's a group of us that get together from all over online as a Zoom meeting, and we share what we're working on, whether it is quilting or sewing or other crafts like mixed media, art journaling, that kind of stuff. If you watch my vlogs, you've heard me mention this before. And if you are a frequent visitor to my channel, you have probably seen some of the videos or the recordings that I have made of our Craft and Chat. But until just the last one we had last week, it's always been more or less a show and share kind of session where we talk about what we're working on and show some of the things we've completed and that kind of thing. I decided for something different, I would make it into a mini retreat at the last one. So basically everybody came online through Zoom, and we sat for a couple of hours, actually it ended up being 3 hours, and just worked on whatever we were working on. Occasionally we would come up for air to chat with people. We would ask questions. Someone, wanted to know how to do this or that, so other people could chime in on that. We would show what we're working on, and that it was a very pleasant afternoon. In fact, it was only supposed to go from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, we went to 4 o'clock. It was like just being at a regular retreat, in a sense, except we were on Zoom. So that's the format it's going to have from here on in. We meet the first Wednesday of every month. I send out the link to the Zoom site for this a few days before. I usually put it in my vlog, which always comes out on Mondays. It's usually in the show notes for that. And if by chance I do an episode of Idiot Quilter before then as well, and I usually do because right now I've been averaging 1 Idiot Quilter a week, I will put it in the show notes for that as well. Everybody is welcome. It doesn't matter what you're working on, what format, whether it's a paper craft, it's a sewing project, whatever. And we just have a very informal and pleasant session. It's a drama-free zone. We don't talk about COVID. We don't talk about politics. We're just a bunch of people crafting together. So if you think that would be appealing to you, then our next one will be January the 6th, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, if you're a little late, it doesn't matter. If you can't stay for the whole thing, it doesn't matter. It's kind of like a drop-in retreat. Come when you can, go when you want to. Simple as that. So I hope we'll see a few more people on the Craft and Chat in January. Okay, so that's me today. Nothing else to tell you right now. I'm going to go off and get this up onto YouTube, and I'm going to work on some more projects, and I'll share those kind of things with you. Tongue-tied, time to stop. I'll share those things with you in the next episode, so I hope you'll tune in then. Have a great week. Bye-bye for now.